Okay, this really was the best episode of ReZero Season 3 so far. Today, we witnessed the greatest crash out of all time and the end of Regulus Corneas. A man with so much drip, yet so little aura. Wife number 184 is named Sylphie, and unfortunately, it seems that not every Sylphie could cure their husband's erectile dysfunction. Regulus went cave diving this episode and then died in the only hole he's ever been in. Reinhard is officially an astronaut. This wife wants to fuck a ground dragon. Emilia turned into Muhammad Ali, and Subaru got impact frames. There's just so many highlights. It's amazing episodes like this one that make me proud to call myself a retard. Crunchyroll even dropped a brand new banger translation error. This week, Regulus, the Archbishop of Pride, says, "How do you have my authority?" implying that Subaru and Emilia have his authority, when in reality, he was just wondering what happened to it. Which might not seem like a big deal, but they do this shit every week, and it's so bad that some people actually think it's intentional. Anyway, this is the first time Regulus has felt pain in over 100 years. I loved the animation this episode, and I'm so happy that they actually let Emilia land all 53 punches. It's so satisfying to see Regulus actually taking damage, but damn, that had to be one of the most brutal death scenes of all time. So now that he's dead, I can just talk about this freely. Lion's Heart was Regulus's ability to stop the time of his body, heart, and anything he touches. And Little King was his ability to put his heart into his wife's body, which is actually the only thing he's ever put inside a woman. And he did it to keep his own heart beating because without Little King, Regulus could only use Lion's Heart for 5 seconds at a time or else he would die of heart failure. But because he's never deactivated Little King before, he doesn't know how to use Lion's Heart on other objects without Little King. He just never bothered to learn because Little King has always been active for the past 100 years. He probably barely remembers how to walk without it. It's like if you tried gooning to your imagination again after using porn for 100 years. Which explains why he didn't just kill Subaru and Emilia with his breath this episode. So in the novel, what exactly happens here is that Regulus activates Lion's Heart on himself in the same tick that Reinhard hits him. So instead of just hitting the ground really hard and causing a crater or something, he just goes inside the ground because his authority prevents outside resistance. Except he realizes that he has no way of stopping his momentum if he deactivates it, and he needs to deactivate it for 2 reasons: heart failure and the fact that he's about to go through the bottom of the world into the Great Waterfall. So when he deactivates Lion's Heart, the speed and momentum shatter every bone in his body. Now he's boneless in multiple ways. In the novel, it says his body became a mash of meat stained with blood, piss, and shit. That's like an insult Capella would say to somebody. By the way, fantastic visuals during this entire sequence. In the novel, Regulus was actually drinking this water because it tasted so good to him after not being able to drink it for over 100 years. I think he went a lot deeper in the novel too, and kept using his authority in 5-second increments to try and make it back to the surface, eventually hitting water. And for some reason, that reminded me of Minecraft, when you're mining straight up and then water pours in and you start drowning. That's exactly how Regulus dies. His last thoughts of Emilia, suddenly realizing that she was that lolly from the forest 100 years ago. And almost poetically, Emilia can't fucking remember him at all. And that's not because Pandora erased her memories. Pandora only erased herself from Emilia's memories. The reason Emilia can't remember Regulus is simply because Regulus is just that forgettable as a person. Something that gets me unbelievably hyped is watching Subaru actually use his authority. Every time, it's like he waits until I've completely forgotten that he even has that ability, and then he whips it out. I mean, he's had this shit since the end of Season 1, and yet every time he uses it, it still surprises me. I did think this was a very beautiful narrative moment though, because the name Subaru gave the ability is Invisible Providence, but Betelgeuse named it the Unseen Hand. And because Regulus was making fun of Betelgeuse, just this one time, Subaru calls it the Unseen Hand, using Betelgeuse's name for the ability just to spite Regulus. He really unlocked a new level of pettiness there, but also gave some necessary closure to the 100-year beef between Betelgeuse and Regulus. Also, the sloth factor did something interesting in the novel here. It said that Subaru felt it cheer and rejoice, and that the witch factor felt gratitude towards Subaru for calling upon it. So if the witch factors are sentient, then that really makes me wonder what they actually are. Like, were they made from living beings? Or maybe they just adopt part of the personalities of the people that used them. Let me know if anyone has a theory, but while we're on the subject of witch factors, you know that guy we just killed? Remember? He had white hair, no aura, tons of drip. You know what I'm talking about? He looked kinda just like a regular- Yeah, that was his name, Regular. Yeah, didn't that guy have a fucking witch factor? Last time we killed an Archbishop, the witch factor just appeared inside Subaru, but this time Subaru didn't deliver the final hit. So who gets kill credit here? Could it be Reinhard, who, by the way, was aura farming heavy this episode? Standing on top of Regulus in the sky was probably the hardest album cover I've ever seen. It's also interesting that the moon is round because, like I said, the ReZero world is flat, which is one of the reasons Regulus had to deactivate Lion's Heart when he went cave diving. He thought he was gonna go through the bottom of the world and fall into the Great Waterfall, which is how Sekhmet died. I don't think she fell though. I think Echidna pushed her. Now, remember in episode 6 when Regulus tried to kill Sylphie, and I didn't even notice this at the time, but a lot of you pointed out in the comments that she actually smiles right at the last second. And thank you, by the way. That's the exact reason I still read all the comments. At first I thought this just meant Sylphie was happy to die and finally be free of Regulus, but now I view it as more of an outright protest against Regulus, mocking him for being unable to make a woman happy except when setting them free from his endless torment. Now, a lot of Regulus's monologue was cut from the anime. Obviously, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. The whole episode would have just been Regulus yapping if they kept the entire rant, but the one really interesting part that they cut was when Regulus mentions his family. Before he got his witch factor, he had a normal life in a village with his family. Apparently, his dad had a problem with drinking and he didn't earn a lot of money, but he still bought Regulus a present every once in a while. His mother had a habit of complaining a lot, but she still apologized to Regulus because she knew it was troubling him. His brothers were selfish, and I guess they took his toys and stuff, but they still shared their food with Regulus whenever he was hungry. And although that doesn't sound like the best family ever, it also doesn't sound that bad. I mean, I expected his backstory to be littered with abuse and trauma, but instead, it sounds like he was just part of a normal, low-income family. And yet, the moment Regulus got his witch factor, he immediately killed everyone. Killed his entire family, killed the entire village, killed the entire town, and even destroyed the entire country. Regulus is just absolutely heartless. A lot of you told me you didn't really like how goofy they made Regulus, and how the anime seems to have lost its seriousness, but I think that was mainly just for Regulus because they wanted us to laugh at him along with his dead wives. This episode was so good that it made me jealous though. Regulus's monologue was so perfect, I can't help but wish Echidna got the same treatment last season. And Subaru's Invisible Providence scene this episode was almost identical to the one in season 2, except it looked way better this time. I'll talk about this more during my final review of the season, but damn, guys, we only have 4 episodes left. Wrath and Greed have been defeated, and it looks like next episode we're going to be fighting Kurgan and Theresia. Super hyped for that, but thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep talking about ReZero. I'm out for now. Peace.